verse 20 in chapter 7. Verse 20, at the end here, it says this, that all the water in the Nile turned into blood. This is this is the false God that God is stepping onto the scene to strike a blow to in his judgment. He lists what happened in verse 20. The water of the Nile and all the water in the Nile turned into blood, verse 21, and the fish in the Nile died, and the Nile stank, so that the Egyptians could not drink water from the Nile. There was water throughout all the land of Egypt. There's multiple layers to this judgment. First of all, the Nile turned into blood. Secondly, the fish within that Nile died. Do you know what Hapi's other name was? The Hapi, the god of the Nile, he was Lord of the fish. And here his very essence, his own identification is now floating to the top of the bloody water in judgment. And of course, the Nile stank. The whole land of Egypt stank. I remember one time when I was working in a hospital in the back end of the surgical system, and there was at one part of my job was to take these bags of old blood that had gone through the process, being sucked out of people or drained from the bottom of theater floors and all that sort of thing. And there was one time, I wasn't going to say this, but it's come to mind. There was one time when somebody in placing it through to the disposal had lost her grip, and about 5 liters of old human blood just spattered over the floor, under the doors, and over my shoes. I tell you what, that stank. There's a kind of, if you've been there, maybe it's in hospital, maybe it's you've worked in a cemetery, I don't know, but the rotting of the human blood, that kind of highly metallic, disgusting smell, that was everywhere. Everywhere in the land of Egypt, truly disgusting. When the true God judges a society, he judges them along the lines of their sins. When God judges a people, he judges them along the lines of their sins. He judges them, in other words, according to their idols. He judges them along with the demons and false gods that they are worshiping and bowing down to. In other words, God judges the demonic realm and all those who worship them along with them. God judges according to sin. So here, now the Nile is filled with blood, the fish are all dead, and it is smelling, it is stinking throughout the entire land. Now, we need to remind ourselves how important the Nile was to the land of Egypt. One, in theology, because it was their god. Secondly, though, because it was fertile, so it allowed for farming and agriculture. That obviously leads into the fact that it was the basis of their economy, farming and agriculture and trade and the buying and selling of goods. That was all connected. Of course, also with the Nile, they relied on for transport, the north-south traveling that was able to allow them to trade and move things quickly. It was, of course, the water that they would drink. It was fresh water, and so without it, they no longer had drinking water. It was the basis of their economy in the sense that many jobs and every other industry relied on the Nile. It was also a matter of ease and convenience because with very little labor, you don't find Egyptians digging wells, really. You simply channel or create some kind of aqueduct from the Nile. They had a lot of convenience and ease with much yield for their labor. And of course, it underpinned all of their riches and affluence. It was in every sense the lifeblood of Egypt. And when God judges a people, he judges them along the lines of their idols in a way that exposes their sins. Here's God saying, you worship the Nile as your lifeblood. I will turn it into blood before your very eyes. When God judges a people, he judges them according to their sins.